Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum.
Well, speaking of ladles of gravy,
Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
it's Moomamo. You know, Moomamo it's a weekly program
It is.
where we all get together and we talk about the world's only tabletop roleplay superhero game.
Only RPG period, actually. As a matter of
Period.
fact.
Honestly, I mean, you know, if we're gonna get real specific about it, but you know, I'm looking at chat and they are just in it to win it, Alex.
Hell yeah, I love that for us.
Oh, yeah, me too. I really do. Squire's here and says, I made it. Look
Welcome,
at these
Squire.
people. Yeah, Squire. And the Devious Hearts was here at 1:23, which is Pacific Standard Time, which is, you know, a full half
Very
hour or
early.
more. Yeah, very early, but welcome. I appreciate that. Let's see who else we got. Gerald Scrimshire, good to see you, my friend. I was just talking to Gerald. Gerald, were you and I talking this week? This
What
weekend,
were you guys
rather?
talking about?
We were talking about live streams and things and when to put them on calendars and the such, and we decided to put them, you know, we're doing a lot of things over at the think tank, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Devious Hearts is here, and a lady of gravy. That's my grandmother.
Not the Lady of Gravy.
My grandmother is the storied and celebrated Lady of Gravy. No, it says, and a ladle of gravy for all the good girls and boys, which is canon, actually. I know that some people were trying to make a story out of how maybe perhaps Gravy Squatch is a bad guy, somehow a monster to be fought. But no, Gravy Squatch is a good guy who sneaks into your home and rewards you for doing good on the gravening. By
I might
filling your
believe
shoes
that
with
if the
gravy.
reward wasn't gravy.
That's true.
Look, I'm not
Love it.
saying that canola oil is made out of canola and baby oil must be made out of baby, but it's
This
related.
is a very specific trauma for you, and it is a little mean of us to exploit it. But, you know, I will say Gravy Squatch was something that came about, you know, not because of this, but prior to you, but lives on fueled by your trauma, I guess. That's not
My
very nice.
terror, my fear of him.
You may be wondering who I'm talking to or what we're talking about, but, you know, let me remove the mystery by saying hello to one Mr. Alex Thomas. Hey, look at
Hello.
this. I've got you in the wrong configuration because I'm dumb.
Oh no, the configuration.
The configuration. There you are, friend. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. You know what? I'm doing fantastic. Did you see what I got you for your birthday?
What'd you get me for my birthday?
It was outside just a couple, maybe, a few hours ago.
The total eclipse of the heart.
Exactly. I was like, once upon a time, I was, and then there it went for you. That was all for you, my friend. I hope you enjoyed it and did not look at it directly.
I did not. Fortunately, the Dollar Tree had little eclipse glasses, so I got to see it, but not without purifying my retinas with holy fire.
Yeah. How do they do that? What's the trick?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know how the magic works. I just assume that you look at the darkness and you're fine.
How many hands am I holding up?
Too many.
None. Because I'm a mist. But a handy mist nonetheless. Hey, the last 6 months says, Merry Moomamo, my many Moomamites. I love that. That was good stuff. Klutz says, I recently heard about another TTRPG, a fantasy-themed game, like some kind of M&M, but with swords and dragons. Nope.
It's not gonna work out.
Nah, flash
It'll
in the
never.
pan.
It'll never make it.
Hey, Sean Vieira says, a Pulp Moomamo, I am so there, and here you are.
You made it.
You made
We're
it.
here to talk about all of the pulp.
Yeah, that's right. Dominic's here and says, what a way to finish my total eclipse viewing day with some Moomamo. Nice. Everyone got to look at you know what? I'm here in Seattle and I feel like it was just another day.
That's because you live in Seattle where the sky doesn't care about your feelings.
It really does not. For all the crying it does. Yes, Gerald, Our Lady of Gravy, hallowed be her name. Thy gravy
Blessed
come.
be.
Blessed be.
That will be done on ladle as it is in heaven.
Nice. I love that we're making sort of a religious canon out of this. It's my favorite. Zatran brings up a good point, saying, of course, tongue in cheek. I see they finally voted Steve off the island. Well, we don't have that kind of power. It wouldn't have, even if we could. He's just too powerful. And I think he is the island, actually.
He is quite mighty.
Yeah, but no, Steve went to some kind of eclipse viewing event and was going to be not near a camera or a microphone. Civilization in general. So, yeah.
Which good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Well, he wanted to see what I got you. Let's see. All I can think of is a little shot how they delivered Total Eclipse of the Sun. Yes. A little theater fun for everybody. Jay Gray says, howdy, howdy, over on LinkedIn. Of course you did. I love
Jay
it.
Gray never change. I love that is your life.
Just holding down the fort over there on LinkedIn. Coolest kid on LinkedIn. Yeah, absolutely right. Online viewing party, a sort of eclipse, says Claude.
Did they have online viewing parties at the? I guess if you live somewhere where the sky wasn't cooperating, yeah, that's a good idea.
Surely they do. Surely they do.
Surely.
Yeah. Surely. Hey, so there's some stuff. Should we do it now?
I think we should. I think we should figure out what's in the tank, Troy.
Nicely done. What Alex is talking about is the atomic think tank.
We keep lots of good stuff in there.
Yeah, we really do. It's full. The tank is full. Let me get it all ready to go. So here's the deal. In a world where you're working on, I don't know, I'd say, what are we working on? 50 different projects all at once.
Literally all of them.
All of them.
Forever.
And they run the gamut of fantasy, sci-fi, hero, hard science fiction, gravy-based shenanigans, all of these things. And it appeals to a lot of different people. And so what do you do to get information to everyone? Because you want everyone to be a part of the larger community, but you also want people to have their little spaces so that they can focus on the things that they love, like Mutants and Masterminds, for instance.
Yeah, definitely.
So we created the Atomic Think Tank, and it's essentially where people go to hang out and be cool. And if you're not there, you're afraid.
Not cool. I'm sorry.
You're not cool.
Teenagers will make fun of you on the street.
They will. And
I don't make up the rules
to do so. That's right. So this is a feature we're calling "What's in the Tank," and we'll every once in a while highlight some stuff. For those of you who have been watching, Devious Arts has just been mutants and masterminding his fingers to the bone.
I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he keeps up with all that.
It's preternatural. It's mine is not to wonder why. Mine is just to say thank you for contributing and for being a great example of how other people can contribute. Mm-hmm. It is just what can be done. So knowing today's subject, this guy put together, can I flip over like that? Does that work? It of course does not. There we go.
Obviously. Why would it cooperate?
Why would it do what I want it to do? Who am I to ask? Okay, so here we got War in the Shadows, Pulp Era Supernatural Adventure Organizations, a resource for people on mutants, really honestly anywhere in the world on any subject, like, come over here and hang out. Wrote up an article, really great stuff. That's just one of them.
Yeah, it sounds like something that would be useful in Titan City. Secret, shadowy organizations keeping control of the supernatural.
Absolutely.
We're big on that around these parts.
Could you imagine the very idea, the audacity of putting together a bunch of articles and conversations around the topic of Mumamo? What?
It boggles the mind.
The synergies.
We didn't even ask for that.
No, we did not. He did this all voluntarily, which is beautiful. He's a beautiful soul. And I am, for one, saying thank you. And everyone else should as well. But Atlantis Lost, another Pulp Era adventure seed. Here's the thing too. We've been working on filing this stuff away in the perfect sort of place so that it's easy to find, to let people do their own filing and all that good stuff. And we're almost ready. It's you can get a look at it, friends. But first, I want to show you this, which I just love. Howlin' Jack Moran. Our
Howlin'
old
Jack.
pal. Look at that art. This whole thing is just, I love it. This is a Pulp Era pilot that you can, already got the PL, the stat block is here, details as to the skills, equipment, defense, complications. See, that's my complication. Well, actually, my complication is being good.
And staying good.
Yeah, staying good. Yeah, my complication is, how do I do good?
How do I remain good?
But we have he and I have, well, I'm not addicted to alcohol, but I do enjoy a drink. Yeah, background stuff. This is all here for you. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. You're not even seeing it, are you?
No, I can't see the art.
There we go. Look at this guy. Look at that guy.
Oh, that's a handsome feller.
Handsome feller. All that in what we call the Aegis files. And that, of course, is, you can kind of tell your own tale. Did you hack into the mainframe and now you've got access to all the files? Did you steal a thumb drive from a spy? Did you, I don't know what you did. But whatever you did, you hit the jackpot, friend. Because in these files, look at what players are submitting. All kinds of heroes, villains, their discussions about, what types of stat blocks do you need most for your games? Questions like that. Stuff. Look at this handsome devil. Who's that? Karshisht. I almost said that very wrong.
Karshisht.
Karshisht. Yes. That's a mouthful, but, this is
all the best ones are.
Nyadrab. I need to sit down with Chris Davies and say, how do you say this stuff? Yeah, so all of this stuff is here for you. Leaves, pods. What are these?
Those look like trilobites or turtle shells.
This is so great. I'm looking at Devious as this. Please make more. Really great stuff. I'm going to see what this is. Earlier this year,
are they fossils?
This is a way to test out some of the ideas introduced by Mr. Kenson in this article. Fun.
Mr. Kenson, I'm sure he loves that.
Yes. Yeah. We should actually think of a fun nickname that Steve would not like, something like
Mr. Kenson, I think, is one of the names he would not.
That is definitely on the list. Definitely on the list. So it's not all Mutants and Masterminds, but, this is Mumamo, where we Mumamo. But the Atomic Think Tank is going to have tons of stuff. You're actually going to be able to see some stuff here that's not public yet. But everything's going to be. That's right. All of our secrets exposed. But this is your wake up call, not yours, Alex. You're already up. But for everybody else, if you haven't had a chance to head on over here and to get your hands on, all of the age stuff that's going up, of course, Mutants and Masterminds stuff, because everybody's a fan of Mutants and Masterminds, get in there. And yes, Rebel Moose, you can have a display name. A question from Rebel Moose who says, part of the sign-up process for the Atomic Think Tank calls for a first and last name. Can we have a display name? I've seen some in the posts that you're showing. Yes, you don't have to. We're not sticklers about your first and last name. We certainly don't want people to feel exposed. And if that's a concern of yours, then, be Rebel Moose. That's your real name. Be whatever you'd like.
Yeah.
And then you can do that. I'm dropping a little linky here in the chat. Little link. Click that. Join up. And then do me a favor. Send me a note. Say hi. Say howdy. I made it. And we'll be BFFs forever. And ever. Hey, so one of the things I love about this topic, Alex, is that Titan City Chronicles is your baby.
It is. It's very near and dear to my heart. Specifically because I love everything fantasy, noir, pulp, all that good stuff. And this all falls very much in that realm of sort of what we're talking about today, where pulp heroes are heroes from the 1920s and 30s, sort of the dawn of the superhero story. A lot of lot of tough dudes with khaki shirts and fistfuls of justice. So it's a lot of good stuff.
I love that, fistfuls of justice.
Yeah, and the genre is not just from back then. I mean, it's definitely when it was started with things like Doc Savage and a lot of like early comic strips, but also it lives on through characters like Indiana Jones and
Mm.
the Mummy movies from the 90s, which were my sort of big introduction to pulp as a genre. And things like The Rocketeer and all sorts of stuff that is fantastical versions of things that happened in the far off past.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to put a little. We do this quite often when we have these conversations, but that era, while fun and campy, and and at times so very serious,
Very
also
serious.
came with its own sort of special considerations for us in this modern day. Um, a lot of things were fueled by misogyny and, looked very, very white. And, fortunately for us in this time, we have done a lot of work to kind of get around that and to recognize it and call that out. And I just encourage people to really just interrogate a bit of that, which you have done very well in Titan City Chronicles. I mean, like with Titan City, you've kind of created a whole thing, but we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
Can you help me also understand, just generally speaking, how does one go about incorporating pulp or building for a pulp era adventure?
So yeah, building with pulp, like Troy said, it's narrowing in on the fantasy of it instead of being one of those people who just gets like sucked into the idea that the past is terrible and I should be terrible while I'm presenting the past.
Yes.
That is definitely, I mean, that is an option, but always check with your group to see if that's something they actively want to engage with, or if they don't want to deal with that and they just want to have the fun escapism of, I'm going to go out and do, I'm going to have fun pulp adventures and punch Nazis and not worry too much about, well, American society was terrible in the early 20th century.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it all comes into enjoying the genre, enjoying the free escape of it all, the wonderful, just sort of optimistic, very black and white situation that comes with pulp. I think that's one of the key fantasies of it is we're good guys, they're bad guys. It's that easy. It doesn't have to
Very
be,
clear. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. There's Nazis. Let's beat them up. It's great.
Right.
Tailspin, also a great, uh, a great modern pulp story.
Zorro. Yes. Yeah. Zorro was Angel brings up Zorro and Phantom.
Yeah, the Phantom. I think.
Oh, the Phantom. Okay, gotcha. It was
Yep.
like a book. That's a Phantom. Um, yeah, that's good stuff. Now, how did you come to like love this genre? Like, what about it kind of made you want to build a whole world around it?
Um. So yeah, just genre wise, and Titan City is more noir than it is pulp.
Yeah,
There are definitely pulp elements, but I love just stories from that time period. I love just the larger than life characters, the great sense of adventure. I think that's the other thing that I really am drawn to with this genre is that the world's unknown and we get to go out and we get to uncover lost mysteries and we get to keep people from abusing the secrets that they find there. That was a big influence for the Lost Library. Was there are people trying to uncover secrets in order to do something bad, so we need to stop them from doing that and hopefully preserve the knowledge when we can. So another one of the things I love about Indiana Jones is it belongs in a museum.
yeah, and that of course is its own,
It's its own fraughtness. I mean, it belongs in an Egyptian museum, not in a British museum,
fair
but
enough. There we go.
it should
Yeah,
be presented to the public for the purpose of knowledge.
yeah, absolutely. That the idea being save it from the war torn bad guys and the all those conflicts where people are pilfering and stealing the magics of the treasures and all that good stuff.
Definitely.
How long did it take you to? So I know, knowing that Titan City is more noir, but has some of the elements of pulp in there. What are your when you look at Titan City, the space? Where does for how long did it take you to kind of build the whole space, and are you done? Like, I mean, are we looking at a city that is a part of the larger canon, or are we looking at a alternate universe? Like, give us those kind of details.
Yeah, so Titan City, what we're doing with Titan City is it is not going to be retroactively fitted into Earth Prime. It is going to be back. It's going to be more its own alternate Earth. And sort of the development of the city, I began this process in 2011 when I made my first ever Mutants and Masterminds character, Professor Mysterium, who is the poor, bedraggled Anon Walker, who is the main character of the Magician's Sin, and is sort of the world I wanted to hang. He's a character I wanted to hang a world around. He and his story has evolved a lot. I mean, originally I wrote a whole book about his experiences during the American Civil War, and I realized at the end of that book that that wasn't the most interesting part of his life, and I wanted to move ahead forward in his long life to sort of the trade-off between the sort of traditional lurking in the shadows fantasy heroes and moving on to more colorful costume crime fighters. So the Magician's Sin is really a passing of the torch from him to the new defenders of the city, like Caroline and Chevron, who are two big superheroes in the setting. But I've always wanted to write about sort of Byronic heroes, and one of the things about Byronic heroes is they tend to flourish the most in times of great conflict, and like Rick in Casablanca is during World War II, you know, participating in the black market smuggling of people out of Europe and away from the Nazis, and still being sort of a person with a heart of gold, but also a dick about it. And I wanted to sort of capture some of that feeling. And the city's really grown up even since the publication of The Magician's Sin, and it's still continuing to grow. I mean, I run several Mutants and Masterminds actual plays set in the city. I've run one or two on our channel so far. And I don't know, it's a period of great change, and I think it's a great time period to examine a lot of things that we're still dealing with today.
Yeah.
It's only 100 years ago, but there are still some societal ills that we can address from them that have continued into the modern day. And having a space to examine that where it doesn't feel quite as personal as we're all suffering this, I think is it's a great tool of the setting.
I love that. Now, people are dropping some great links in chat. And if you are friends, if you're curious about, we've got links to Alex's books. If you hit that QR code that's down in the bottom right-hand corner here, you'll see our latest, The Lost Library, which is our latest release in this space, in this world. And
yeah, that's actually a Chevron on the cover of that. Now I'm thinking about it.
Oh, yeah.
He's getting beat up by mummified baboons. It's great.
That's right. Yeah. Great adventure. Only $5.99. You get it at the Green Ronin online store or over at Drive-Thru RPG. Both those links will be there. But within the description, we've got links to, and also in our show notes, we've got links to all the things that Alex is talking about. So you can go pick up his book, check out some of his live streams as well to kind of get some backstory.
Yeah, Devious Hearts mentions that there are some hints of Universal monster films in there, definitely.
Nice.
And I was even inspired by. I was the correct age for these movies when they came out, but I was inspired by The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and the Van Helsing movie from 2004. I was right in the target audience for when those movies came out. I like the larger than lifeness of it, and I like that. I like the time period. I like the characters. I like being able to incorporate things from all over sort of our immediate cultural heritage.
Yeah, it's also a rewarding. It's not a very heavy lift when it comes to role play.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. You just kind of put on the voice and do the thing and get heroic.
Yeah, and there are there's tons of space for adventures in this sort of pulp genre. You can do costume crime fighters in the big city fighting, like Superman started fighting landlords, or fighting corrupt business magnates, or going off and fighting in the war, World War II or World War I. Both have great pulp adventures centered around them, or the time of the Great Depression when the Nazis are rising to power, and there's heroes around the world trying to put a stop to that.
Now, Jane asks a question real quick. I just want to dive in with this. Will Titan City will we be creating a book with maps and NPCs and that kind of stuff for this?
Not allowed to say, but
yeah, we can't talk about that. Surely the answer is clouded in mystery. We can't talk about it, but that's great. That's good news. I mean, we can't talk about this. Let's see.
Yeah, but it's good
yeah.
news. Don't worry about it. But I can't say more, but it'll happen. It's happening.
Gerald says the Dragon of Parkhurst Manor would be a great astonishing adventure. Yeah, do we that's kind of dangling, right?
Yeah, we have to finish the last little bit of it.
But it's fun. It's been a lot of fun. When last we left, I believe we chased what did we do? Was it the dragon? We were chasing one, or
yes, the dragon flew off. You guys convinced the police to go away.
Yeah,
and you were getting ready to take a road trip up to Far Harbor in Maine.
We got to the boat. That's
yeah,
right.
You guys got to the boat where the potentially the dragons are being held as prisoners.
Nice. You will definitely, friends, want to check out our YouTube channel because we've got all kind of good stuff.
And I'm pretty sure Dragon of Parkhurst Manor, that's one of the ones I did hand off to Steve to start doing a development pass on, so that it could be an astonishing adventure. So
there you go. Nice. Let's see. I'm going to check in some of the back chat stuff here.
We're on a boat.
Uncle Scrooge Stories by Don Rosa had so many pulp elements. Are you familiar?
I'm not familiar, but it talks about Shambala and the Golden Fleece. That's good stuff.
Okay, what's that stuff?
Shambala is a wonderful hidden city, sort of in the vein of like El Dorado or other cities of gold where the gods once lived. Shambhala is usually depicted as being somewhere in the Himalayas or in, sort of Southeast Asia. I have a Titan City adventure that takes people to Shambhala through a portal in Poland because the Germans thought there was a portal there in Poland in 1939.
Nice. Okay. And then, listen to this. Simon says there's a book I always recommend for historical games called Flappers to Rappers by Tom Dalzell. It covers American slang from as far back as the 1900s to the 2010s. I love that. I'll check that out myself.
I'm a big fan of that.
Flappers to Rappers, yeah. Let me double check and make sure. Friends, if you dropped a question or a comment that you would like us to reply to or react to, make sure you drop it again so I don't have to go digging through all of the chat, though as rewarding as it is, it pulls my focus. Superman versus the Klan is another great one. That's a solid one. Yeah.
It is.
There's a great book that shows World War II military slang and jargon. I love those slang books. The language of the time. It's just very, very interesting. Also, Stanek says Shambhala is the sister city of Shangri-La.
Yep. Another beautiful hidden city, supposed to be cut off from the humans, where paradise exists, and it's a utopia.
Nice.
And we keep finding ways to get in there and get our little sticky human fingers on it because we're the problem
for everybody.
We're like toddlers who don't listen when we tell you no.
I love it. Okay, and so do you feel like we have? I want to dig more into some of the Titan City stuff, but when it comes to pulp, do you have other thoughts or very specifically about the pulp era that you want to kind of share thoughts, wisdom, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think especially with pulp, the idea is, generally speaking, pulp adventures are going to be lower power level. You're going to be looking at like power level 6 at the most. Not to say that there aren't other adventures that you could run with high power level characters. It's just generally, it's going to be sort of street level stuff. It's going to be characters who either don't have powers but have a lot of skills, or they have one really interesting power but not a lot else. Characters like Doc Savage, who was he was good at exploring tombs. He was good at punching people, but he wasn't necessarily a superhero. He was just an adventurer. And I think the other thing to think when you're writing pulp adventures is to remember that generally pulp characters are going to be a lot more proactive than traditional superheroes. A lot of superheroes are reactive, where a villain does something and then they go stop them and reset the status quo. Pulp adventurers are going to be more proactive. They're going to be looking for lost temples. They're going to be looking for sources of adventure. They're going to be trying to stop the rise of villains before they happen instead of as a reactionary thing, because the world is in a constant state of flux in their time period. So there's a lot of interesting opportunities. There's a lot of good change. So keeping in mind that the characters are going to be having plans and doing a lot more things than just maintaining their sort of status quo.
Green Matters Game Mastering says, I usually view pulp as relatable meets camp and bombastic. That's a good mix.
Yes, yep. It is so it is very grounded in reality, but there is sort of those massive fantasy elements. For a modern pulp story, if you've played the Uncharted video games or the Tomb Raider video games, those are very pulp adventures set more now than in the past. Indiana Jones is also a great pulp hero, and he is a very reactive and active pulp hero where he's content to sort of stay back at the university and teach until an adventure calls him into it, and then he's making the decisions. He's the one who is driving the story. Unless you ascribe to the belief that he wasn't important for Raiders of the Lost Ark, because if he hadn't got involved, Hitler and everybody else would have got killed by the Ark of the Covenant when they opened it in Berlin. But it's fine.
Fine. That's fine. Kalima, etc. Bad dates. John says the Pulp Era and the Victorian age immediately preceding are chock full of ready-made criminal masterminds, aspiring fascists. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that the Pulp Era and the Victorian age and even the Wild West, in a lot of ways, there's a lot of good overlap for characters and for adventure themes and the like. Yes, Indiana Jones did save Hitler. It's crazy.
Let's see. Sean Vieira says, I like power level 6 characters, but 20 points per level rather than 15.
Yeah, that allows them to have a lot more options at their disposal, despite being a lower power level.
Yeah, I'm with you, Devious. Devious says Pulp was sort of naive and very black and white. Good and evil were very, defined. And film noir is a little more about the gray kind of,
Yeah, and it's interesting because they're both talking about the same time period. Both genres are talking about sort of the 1920s to the late 1930s and getting into the sort of just two different ways of examining how it was happening, where there is sort of that nostalgic feeling about things were simpler back then. And it was a lot more clear cut who the bad guys were and who the good guys were.
Yeah.
And film noir is a lot more about how there was sort of that gritty, grimy ugliness on the, just under the surface of that nostalgia. And
yeah, Devious brings up the kind of the timing of it, but it makes sense, I think, also psychologically that the pre-war innocence, the film noir, maybe post-war, a little more gritty, and also it feels like people who are a little bit on the verge, like maybe they've discovered something deeper and darker about the world. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're writing about sort of the same time periods with those two different
That's right, yeah.
Which is, I think that's fascinating.
I do too. It's definitely a dichotomy.
Yeah, and I mean, we even get a little bit of that now, where you get a lot of satire about the 1950s, about how, it's the golden age of America, but also patriotism is bad. Look at Helldivers. Helldivers is a wonderful example of satire about our feelings about those golden ages of American history.
Yeah. Oh, you look at Fallout, and what they've done around that, that whole future, retro future thing, it fits into that kind of welcome to America kind of thing. Let's see, and Stan mentions a noir detective can be a good pulp hero. It's about what kind of story you're telling. Yeah,
definitely. And they have a lot of skill overlap too. A lot of pulp heroes and noir detectives have a lot of that same, I'm good at punching people and I've got a really good brain and I'm good at fighting gangsters and Nazis and things like that. And it's more about how critical they are of themselves, I think, is the big difference between the noir detective and the pulp hero.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Or there's a lot of noir characters who just despise themselves, which is one of the reasons I relate to them, but that's fine.
Well, we don't despise you, friend. You brought some treats. You brought some Troy with you. You brought some treats to share with everybody. Shall we dive in?
Yeah, I don't go anywhere without my Troy, though.
That's right. I'm with you every step of the way. Hey, look at that.
Yeah, so I'll just introduce some of the characters from Titan City. This is Piper St Clair, the Riveter. She is the world's fastest woman. She was working on an experimental engine on behalf of the Russian mob, unbeknownst to herself, when this experimental engine exploded and coated her with alien radiation that made her super fast.
That should do.
This is Atlas, the Titan who used to hold up the Earth, sort of. In Titan City, what he actually was forced to hold up was the weight of all of the terrible things that humanity's ever done,
Oh.
because the Titans were responsible for imbuing the human race with free will. That's the fire Prometheus brought down, was our ability to think for ourselves and our ability to make our own decisions. And Zeus didn't like that, because Zeus was hoping that he could piggyback on the power of human creativity and become an all-powerful being, which is why most of the Titans were locked up in Tartarus.
I see.
So Atlas is out here. He's very much the Paragon archetype. Leap tall buildings in a single bound, super strong. Also has a weird sort of detect evil ability. He can sense when people are not good and what bad things they've done. And he's in a loving relationship with Chevron, if you want to bring him up.
Oh shoot! We'll get to Chevron, but I'm unfortunately in a precarious order.
Yeah, no worries.
Now, who's this cool kid?
That's Caroline Dupri. She is the new Professor Mysterium after Anon Walker goes missing at the end of The Magician's Sin. She is a wizard, specifically of a of the empath order, so the blue magic users. Magic in the Titan City universe runs on a color wheel. So Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, green, violet. That sort of every color does different things. Empaths are able to conjure illusions. They're able to manipulate people's emotions. They're able to sense the truth, and get into people's heads a lot. She is also a pretty good detective from her days trying to help her dad with his cases back when he was alive. Before the beginning of The Magician's Sin, she helped the Titan City Police Department with stuff because she always has had a great sense of intuition. And she, Atlas, and Chevron are the three people who founded the Titan City Sentinels, the premier superhero team of Titan City.
Got it. Chris Primus. How dare you, sir? Okay. Oh, here's a cool character.
This is Vulcan, otherwise known as Vuimich, the prince from space who landed here in the early 1900s during an event called the Tunguska explosion, where his rocket landed and blew up a whole bunch of Siberia. He spent some time in the Siberian wilderness, wandering around, raised by the villagers who took him in, until the Russian Revolution kicked off and he got caught in a conflict between the Reds and the Whites, and fled to America, where he ran into the Riveter, who was infected by technology that came from his planet. So,
no, is he a bad guy, good guy?
He's a good guy.
Okay.
He is the crown prince of the planet Rake, which is actually Jupiter's moon, Europa. And his uncle killed his family, and he was smuggled to Earth by the Grand Vizier of his family's kingdom.
I see.
There are 4 interstellar or interplanetary empires in Jupiter's moons. My favorite one is a group of aliens who are one collective cloud hive mind who are made of a sentient living gas. Who, the biggest thing they've done in the setting is they noticed that an asteroid was coming to hit Earth, and they got into a big argument about whether they should come and warn Earth that it was coming. And they split into 2 hive minds. One of them floated off into space to go warn the dinosaurs 65 million years ago, and they just got here.
So they're maybe not the most collectively brilliant.
No. They didn't know it was going to take 65 million years to float here.
Now, here's something really interesting. I wanted to pause because it struck me as a very interesting point. Simon Wentworth says if someone wanted to research something, they hit the library. If they wanted to get word to someone quickly, they sent a telegram. That is right? I mean, that kind of lends an interesting complication that, a lot of our problems would be solved had we a cell phone,
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing that you run into a lot with this genre, where sometimes it's actually faster to deliver a message by riding a horse somewhere and telling somebody.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's jump to the next. I know that Gene's got some questions about characters. I want to jump through these. That's great art.
Yeah, this is Otrea. She is the betrayer of the Amazons. The Amazons in this setting live throughout the world. They don't have a big island in paradise anymore because it was destroyed, and they have founded chapters across various cities where they take in women who need help. And the most worthy candidates get brought before the Mother Superior to bless them with the powers of Hera. So they get to get super strength, durability, long lives, all that fun stuff to make a difference throughout society as best they can.
What a bunch of wonderful women.
Yeah, Otrea is not good at that because she's the one who sold out the island to the man who destroyed it.
So is she a villain?
She is a villain. She
Ah,
she betrayed the Amazons, and they have held a long grudge about that for a long time. And she
sure.
works as Marcus Moon's number one enforcer whenever he needs somebody dispatched or something really, really destroyed. He'll send her to go do it.
I gotcha. She's a not so wonderful woman.
No, she's a not so wonderful woman.
Now who's this cool dude?
Speaking of Marcus Moon, this is Marcus Moon, who is the smartest man in the world in the Titan City universe. He's the smartest man in the universe. He is the descendant of this dark spirit that is lurking behind him. This is an entity that calls itself Moon, and it has persisted through the destruction of the last four universes and is responsible for the destruction of the last four universes and is hoping to destroy our universe.
Rude.
The Moon entity survives by passing its consciousness from itself into people in its genetic line. Originally, it wasn't humans, but it's become humans as humans have been created and are now the primary species of the universe. He is a genius. He is the CEO of the world's largest corporation, and he is trying desperately to exercise himself of his father's spirit so that he doesn't have to continue that chain of destruction.
I see.
But he goes about it the wrong way because he's got two letters, his two names that start with the same first letter, and he is a billionaire, so he's probably evil.
He's probably yeah. Guillotine for him. There,
Delicious.
look, this guy's cool.
This guy he's very pulp. This is
Yeah.
Champion. Champion is a costume crime fighter. He was an Olympic wrestler who grew up in the lap of luxury and decided to use his wealth once his parents passed away to become a superhero because he thought it was exciting. um, Very much that sort of bright smile, fists up, very happy to take on evil and try to make the world a better place without really examining too much beyond the surface level of what is causing the problem.
I dig it. He reminds me, for some reason, I get a real Steve Irwin vibe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who's this?
Ilva, she's another one of this is one of the good Amazons. She is a Viking Archer who has lived with the Amazons for the last 1,000 years or so and has been traveling around the world trying to make things better as part of an Amazonian strike team that take out particularly dangerous threats.
Nice. Ooh.
This is Karawasi, the Silver Volt. He is a scientist at Jupiter Enterprises, Marcus Moon's corporation, and a representative of the Iroquois Confederacy. He was blessed by the Thunderbird with the ability to control lightning bolts and to fly, and he designed that gauntlet on his arm to make it easier for him to control the storms that he could summon.
Very cool.
He works for an evil corporation, and he's a good employee of the Jupiter Enterprises Corporation, but he is mostly interested in preventing further destruction to First Nations property and lives. So he's trying to sort of use the system to make the world better for his people.
Got it. Who do we have next? Oh,
This is Myrrh. She's a gargoyle. I love her very much. She is the premier spokes gargoyle of the Department of Monsters Affairs. She is sort of the brand ambassador for the DMA. She goes around, she makes appearances at churches and at orphanages, and she goes and she tries to be in the DMA eye, she is the ideal monster who's coexisting. She is out here doing her thing. She also has some magical ability to provide healing to people who need it, and she's a gargoyle, so she's tough. She can fly. She
So
bites
there,
people.
so there are there monsters that refuse to engage in sort of polite society, and they're kind of out there
There
monstering it
are.
up?
That
Okay.
is one of the chief conflicts in the setting is the idea of what are monsters and should they be forced to coexist under the rules of the human race. And it's split very widely. In Titan City, there are three monsters in charge of Monster Society. There's Mr. Powers, who is the head of Club Tartarus, who's very mysterious. I won't say much more about him.
Mm-hmm.
There is Rizea, who is a Gorgon, a Medusa-like figure, who
Oh,
originally went along with the coexisting thing until the DMA lied to her and they plucked out her eyes because Gorgon eyes turn people to stone, so she couldn't have those. Um, so she has been secretly fomenting rebellion against the DMA, and she's
yeah,
sort of
but
the
she's hungry.
rallying point for monsters who were forced to do horrible things to themselves to coexist, or know that they would have to
To make
suffer something
themselves
like that.
more accessible and less of frightful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
And the third one is Florian Boudon, who is the vampire king of Titan City. He is very much on the coexistence train because he understands with his hundreds of years of life that humans are more populous than monsters, and generally, whenever humans get their minds set about killing something, they will figure out how. He knows that from personal experience.
Got it. All right. Well, that's awesome.
Yep.
All right, let's check. Who do we have next? Oh, who is that?
That's Anon Walker. He's the problem.
He's the
He's the problem.
problem.
It's me. He was if in Earth Prime terms, he was the master mage of Titan City.
Ah.
Um, he was the white wizard. He is the one wizard who is not beholden to any of the color orders. He can do all of the magic.
Oh.
Um, but he was also responsible for the Great Wizard Purge in the 1860s, which has led to the situation where monsters are, not checked by wizards anymore. And he's also the person who told everybody that monsters and magics are real in 1907. So for the last 20 years, everybody's been sort of figuring out what do we do with this information now
Oh,
that it's been revealed to the
interesting.
public. Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting, and that's not too terribly long, but long enough that people are starting to at least contend with it in some way. Very interesting. So, tell me a bit about the how you were talking about the color magic, and he can do all of them. Do you have a system that's based on?
I mean, I made it up, but
Yeah.
the red wizards are called evokers, which are wizards who are able to control elemental abilities. They're sort of like avatars from Avatar: Last Airbender. They do fire, water, all that fun stuff. Orange are animancers. They are wizards of the soul, so they deal with sort of the magic of consciousness and the magic of existence. They deal with a lot of that fun stuff. Yellow is necromancers. They deal with the magic of the flesh. They bring dead things back to life, sort of. They don't bring their souls back, but they animate the flesh and make it into zombies and skeletons and all
Ooh.
that cool stuff. Green are Justicars, which are the wizards who were in charge of policing other wizards. They're anti-magic wizards who are able to channel magic into themselves to make themselves more physically powerful, and they can generate anti-magic fields. Blue is empaths. They're wizards of the mind. They're able to do illusions, mind control. They're able to stimulate the body's ability to heal itself from damage as well. Indigo are enchanters. They're wizards who believe that magic is a science and they could sort of break down the great sort of mathematics and everything behind how magic works. And they're good at creating magical items and things like that. And then violet are invokers, which are wizards who draw their power from some other source, be that a divine source or a pact with a more powerful monster patron, things
Ah.
like that. Sort of like your clerics or your warlocks or your paladins, if you're talking about that other game that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Thank you for elaborating. And John, to answer your question, we can't. There's not a lot to say about that yet, or now. We're kind of, but we're talking about it right now. So
Yeah, I will say there are more adventures coming for sure. We do know
yes,
that.
absolutely. And for those who are listening, John had asked, is it going to be an ongoing? Is Titan City going to be an ongoing parallel campaign? And with lore and things, and so yeah, some of it we can't talk about. Some of it is you said yes, and more adventures to come.
Yeah, and Anson is the White Wizard. White magic was originally invented by Merlin. And in the setting, Merlin and King Arthur were the same person and they were evil.
Oh,
Merlin is the one who plunged the entire world into the Dark Ages, except for his followers, who he moved into Avalon, who just served him until there was a wizard conspiracy that overthrew him, and
oh,
uh,
just one of those.
yeah, fractured the white magic inside him out into a bunch of different bloodlines, and Anson was one of the bloodlines. And the bad thing about white magic is that it always wants to come back to one source. So white wizards are usually brought into conflict with one another until there's only one white wizard left. So Anson's the only one left.
Now, how do you get the calling? Is it something that do you get it kind of different ways, or do you just wake up one day and you're like, I am the blue of the
So the interesting thing is, it is generally random. It's generally somebody wakes up and they realize that they have that potential inside them. It's sort of
I
determined
see.
when a person gets their consciousness from wherever consciousness comes from.
Ah,
Um,
from the
and
consciousness barn.
yeah, the white wizards are the only one that are sort of genetic, where originally Merlin's daughter, Morgan Le Fay, was the other person. He sacrificed half of his power to give her magic because she wasn't born with magic. And she was the one who was used to overthrow him. And when she overthrew him and got the power herself, she's the one who dispersed it out to members of her army who were already present. Then they went on and had
Epic.
kids, and that magic got diluted down into them until Anson uh, went to war with everybody and got all the magic himself.
Very interesting. Okay, so you've done a lot of work. Is there stuff that, is there anything, of course, here we are at the end of the program. We've got a few minutes left, but I'm curious, so people can read the books to get a little background. They can certainly check out the adventure by waving their phone in front of that QR code and
Mhm.
heading on over to the store and picking up some the Lost Library. Are there aspects that you're dying to share that aren't included in any of that stuff? Like things that you really want to dig into that you haven't had a chance to unpack?
Um, Not that I can think of off the top of my head, just
Yeah,
that um, the I do want to talk about the Silverthorn Academy a little bit.
yeah, sure.
That is that's the school for monster children, um, monsters and magic using children who um, are brought to that school, sort of like Xavier's Mansion. They're dropped off to learn how to control their abilities, and it's a great place to start a campaign if you're looking for something sort of Hero High esque. While being set in the city and in the time period, the Dragon of Parkhurst Manor is the adventure that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
That'll be sort of an onboarding point for that school if you want to get into stuff with that. Um, yeah, and the
Well,
Magician's
love
Sin is
that.
a great place to start with characters. Anyway, it doesn't delve as much into the setting as I would like, but there's just a lot of cool opportunities for stories, and just I want people to know that there is a place for whatever they want to talk about, whatever stories they want to tell in the setting.
Nice, nice, awesome. So a space that lends itself well and welcoming, and you'll find exactly the problem you're looking for in Titan City. And let me double check. There was a question that I thought. Yeah, so Gene was asking about will there be an actual play soon? And I am reminded that we did not sit down. One of the things we didn't do is sometimes we would, when we do our planning shows, we would talk about some of the stuff that we would do for the Patreon. But we're in a transition point right now. We should probably think about that at some point.
Yeah,
Doing some actual plays.
I'd like to do some. We talked about as part of our Mumamo planning of doing writing an actual play together and then running it. So that's probably going to be the next one because that's starting in May.
Yeah.
But if we can find a weekend in April that we can get together, that would be fun.
I think we should do that just to maybe clean up the we've got actual plays in waiting.
Hmm.
I think do we have two? It's two. It's just two, right?
I think it's just one. I think we just had the one actual player in waiting. I think it's
I don't
just
know
Parker's
why.
Manor.
Yeah, Parker's Manor. Okay. Oh, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking of the one that we're playing that's kind of on pause. The Green Ronin Internal.
Oh, yes, our staff game. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, awesome. So let's
Claude, there is an
see.
evil
Okay.
equivalent to the Silverthorn Academy. There is the Titan Institute for Monster Excellence that is designed to make monsters servants of the Department of Monster Affairs, and it's headed up by a lich named uh,
Oh.
Horace H. Hannibal. He is liches are weird because they are undead who feed on magic.
Oh yeah.
So he's the headmaster of this institute because he has the ability to take away powers from people that they think are too dangerous. He can feed on their
Ah.
magic until they don't have magic anymore.
The H stands for
But
hungry. Yeah,
yes,
time exactly. Triple H says
he's
Stan.
Triple H. But the problem with Hiram is that he is addicted to feeding on it, and sometimes he just eats kids because he's hungry instead of actually being a disciplinary thing. So
You know, this is the first I'd heard about this guy, but I pegged him. Yeah.
yeah,
The
he's
H
trouble.
stands for hungry. Yeah, he's trouble. He's trouble. Okay, so we are now 2 minutes away from the end of this program. Not that we can go on and on and on, but there's a lot going on in the world, and not the least of which is plots and schemes for Titan City.
Oh,
Alex,
yeah.
what have you got going on outside of this? If there could even be space for that to
Um,
happen.
well, if you are interested in getting more Titan City stuff, I will be running some Titan City games at Origins and Gen Con this year,
Hey,
including one dealing with the Time Institute and Hiram.
nice.
Um, there is a what else am I working on other than that? I'm working on an introduction post to put up on the Atomic Think Tank about Titan City.
Sweet.
I'm looking for a number of working on finishing up the Valiant stuff for Worlds of Valiant. I'm working on my last little bit of it and doing development work on the book that shall not be named because I have all the text for it. So
Nice, nice. Claude mentioned that I think the think tank would be a great place to have resources like consent forms and rules of conduct for the actual plays and all that stuff. Yes, we've got a whole bundle of fun stuff, including stuff that Alex you put together, both as part of Mutants Mastermind, and then we got some other things that we're putting together. So that is on the way. So
is.
stay tuned for that. Yeah, lots of other good stuff, and you've got some articles planned that you were. We talked about that a little bit. Actual plays. I think we covered it all, my friend.
Yeah, but before the stream ends, what about
Yes.
dragons in Titan City?
Oh,
Dragons are complicated. Everybody thought dragons were gone because the one of the somebody proclaiming themselves to be the last dragon attacked Titan City because she was alone and didn't want to continue moving through forever alone. She asked Anon Walker to kill her, and he said no. So she popped off and started attacking the city until he was forced to. But dragons have slowly been making their way back. A few eggs were found and they hatched. And one of the things I like about dragons in Titan City is that they are generally, sentient, super intelligent beings who don't necessarily have the greatest emotional intelligence. They have the ability to shapeshift into a humanoid form in order to pass through society, but they are traditionally, when they are not in humanoid form, they are sort of the four-legged, two-winged, fire-breathing
people
monsters.
eaters.
Yeah.
I love it.
But there's a couple of them floating around the setting. They are, and the ones that are not just out and out dragons, like there's a few that people know about from the experience with the dragon of Parkhurst Manor. There's a few dragons hidden amongst society who haven't revealed their draconic nature just yet.
Claude mentions that he too likes to destroy cities when he's lonely. That reminded me of going to Starbucks, and somebody said, "What is your name?" And I said, "Destroy." She said, "Destroy," and I was like, "Yes, yes, that's right."
That's me.
Destroy. That's me. With that, I say, friends, thank you, chat, for all the great references. Listen, if you're listening on demand, you're going to want to check out the chat because they've got all your links. They got all your stuff. SCTR wants to know, can you play as a dragon?
You can, because it's Mutants and Masterminds, and
There you go. Of course you can.
You can make pretty much any kind of character you'd like. One of the things that I aim to do with a potential Titan City source book is to make archetypes for different kinds of monsters, so that you can just bolt those stats into your character and build around those. Sort of like the alien archetypes we have in the Cosmic Handbook.
Love it. Love it. And I do also appreciate as a developer how you get into the needs of you get into the player's head. You kind of understand and anticipate what they're looking for, what they will be looking for. So yeah, that's really great stuff. Everyone's super stoked in chat. Alex, thanks for hanging out and doing the thing. We always have fun on a Monday. I want to encourage everybody to tune in next Thursday for Thursdage. We're doing it, and it's going to be fun, and there's going to be some great stuff we'll be talking about, not the least of which an exclusive invite to a brand new thing.
Heck yeah.
You'll hear it there first. All right, I think that's it, my friend. Alex, have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you around the water cooler.
You too. See y'all later.
Bye, everyone.